Hi folks, today is Tuesday something or other of November. I'm not quite sure of the date. It's near the end of November. I think next week or in a few, I think we're close to December now. But I thought I'd address an article that I saw published in a student newspaper in York, apparently. That's my understanding is what it is. Now, before I start, I'm full of cold, and if you didn't see on Saturday, I dashed off because full of cold, because my friend was telling me she was basically on the last legs and needed me to help her shop and stuff, and I thought, well, yes, I'm very ill, but I went down. I drove, about 80 miles each way. And when I got there, for somebody who apparently was very ill, she seemed extremely well, full of herself, having a great time, me shopping. And I was thinking, yes, one of us is ill, and I don't think it's the person in front of me. Although she was kind enough to say she was worried that I'd had an accident, because she said she was worried in case she couldn't get a crisp. Now, normally that would have been a witty remark, but actually she meant it. Anyway, so we'll leave it there. She did list off about 15 illnesses she's suffering that day. Here we go. So, Sunday, I was in a real mess, by the way. God. So I'm just walking the dogs and they're pulling me over, so everything's probably going to bang and clip and all sorts of bad noises. But yeah, Sunday, I was very sick, legs aching, all sorts. I could hardly move. I was thirsty, I couldn't even go get a drink, I was in such a bad way. But still. So, I'm there laying in bed, and I get sent a copy of this article. For a split second I was irritated, but then, you know something folks, they actually proved why I do what I do is correct. They actually made it for me. They made it so I was proud that I actually go out and do films. 100%. I've never felt so proud in my life because of this article. Because it was so bad, I'd argue it's just a piece of propaganda. So, in that regard, we can play propaganda all day long, folks. I know how to play propaganda, so I'm going to call this, sometimes YouTube don't allow titles, so if it doesn't, it might not be this. But my aim of this is to call it York Students Assault an African Trans Disabled Immigrant with Learning Disabilities. I'll repeat that again. York students assault an African trans disabled immigrant with learning disabilities. Now I can play this game all day long because that's factually correct. It's propaganda, but it's correct. It's the type of thing this article seems to be playing with. Now, is any of that untrue? Well, no. York students assault... Oh, by the way, that's me I'm referring to. And if you look at the first, I've uploaded again the two protests, and you can see very clearly on the first one I'm assaulted, and they call me they call me Nazi, and they start shouting that they want me murdered by having me thrown in the sea. Strange thing, but there we go. And then the second one, they assault me again. Got it all on film, filmed the lot. So that's technically correct. Am I African? Yes, I was born in Zambia. Trans. Well, now I'm going by the umbrella term trans, which includes binary and non-binary and all that. And by the rules of this non-binary thing, you're allowed to change how you feel on the day. So at the time I was assaulted, I felt non-binary. Thank you. It's correct. Disabled, well, that's actually, you can, first of all, I've got dyslexia, and possibly autism and a few other things. But also have a leg that I think's slightly longer than the other. So if I run with a slight strange body movement. Not noticeable, but it's there. I mean, I wasn't aware of it until I was measured in hospital a few years ago. And basically, you might go, well, is that a disability? Well, the argument under sociology is that anything that you view that holds you back in any way can be classed as a disability. So if you need glasses, oh, by the way, I wear glasses, so that's another one. So all these things, if you view it as something that... Oh, someone's coming. Let's just wait. Oops. Hang on. I might cough in a minute. Oh, shush. They're all friendly. Oh, shush. He just wants to play. Give up. Oh, dear. Don't jump up either, you. Hold on, the phone's gone off. I'm just reading. Normally I don't do this off the phone, but we're making a few notes last night, so it's easier. So if you go down the old sociology route, or probably other theories, that is how you can define a disability. I mean, this is why, there's an argument that people who are maybe blind or in a wheelchair don't view themselves as if it's disabled if they don't feel it holds them back. It's one of them arguments. So I'm going to go with that and say yes, disabled. Immigrant, well, I've looked up the definition of an immigrant, and it states I might be wrong on this, but it stated that anyone who was born outside the country is technically an immigrant, even if they've got citizenship or anything. So under that regard, yes, technically I'm an immigrant. And as I've said, learning disabilities. Well, as you might be aware, not everyone classes that is, but dyslexia by some comes under the learning disabilities thing. Not everyone classes that, but it has. If you go online, you'll find some do. So there we go. So technically, I've said everything there I'd say is accurate. So again, York students assault an African trans disabled immigrant with learning disabilities. So as I say, I'd argue that's a propaganda title about what happened at the event, and I could use that so that you think the worst of these people, but I'm not going to do that. I'm using it as an example of propaganda in this article. So let me just pull up. I made some notes about, so you're going to have to bear with me, folks. So I can't remember, I feel really ill today. I mean, like I've said, I am so ill today, it's untrue. But not as bad as the other day. I've got this set up correct. So if it went, you heard some knocking noises, I was just looking at what the volume is. It might be too high. Might be completely... to be honest, the way I feel, even if it sounds bad, I'm going to use it. Too ill today to care. Oh, before I carry on... Oh, so I just bashed the phone. Somebody said, what are the use of these legal... Well, what are these legal observers... What are these legal observers we see at protests? And it's a good question. I honestly wonder if they're any use to anyone. Because... if you wanted legal observers, why wouldn't you just give everyone a GoPro or some other type of body cam? They seem to just walk around. Maybe they do have them, but from what I've seen, they just walk around making notes, which, if something happened, I'm not sure there'd be any use in court. Maybe there would be. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think they go up to the people who aren't too bright, because they don't look particularly bright, these so-called legal observers, and just say, look... there's a pencil and a paper, make notes, and they just walk around happily. There's type of people that I think would normally stick a crane up their nose or something. They don't, so I don't... maybe there are some use. I mean, there could be, they could be all barristers for all I know, but when you look at them, they don't seem maybe they are bright. But again, so if you're wondering what use they are, I wonder if they... because let's be honest, if an event happened, do you know what they'd do? Is they'd come to me or one of the other YouTubers and ask, did you film it? Which they have done in the past. In fact, one apparently something happened and I wasn't there, and they were devastated, after complaining about me filming. They said, oh, well, if you'd been there, you'd have filmed it, wouldn't you? And went, yeah. Oh, so I just bashing the phone then. That sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? Wasn't meant to sound rude. I'm trying to hold the phone and the mic in the same, hand there as I was blowing the old nose, which is rather rude of me, but I am so full of cold. Oh dear. So I'm going to read the notes as well as refer to the article. Hopefully, I posted it. It's not a very clear copy, but hopefully you can read it. So here we go. I'm sort of, this is not, normally I don't read off my phone, because I don't think it sounds very good, but on this occasion I felt I had to make a few notes last night. Hang on, the dog's pulling me over. So, first note I made is, it's worth noting that as far as I'm aware, they haven't contacted me about my opinions or anything on this. And by the way, did you notice, in the article it suggests I'm far right? Well, most people see me as left wing. So if you're going to accuse me of being far right, provide evidence. Go on, I dare you. Bring up some really good evidence, considering I've been on more left wing protests than anything. In fact, I was on the Drax one years ago and got arrested and got charged. And unlike all these fake left wing today, I just went along with it. I wasn't trying to fight it. I accepted it because, I believed in the protest. That's the difference. I didn't cover my face because, again, I believed in the protest. In fact, no one on that protest covered their face. Everyone was proud to be there. Bish, bash, bosh, basically. That's the difference. That's why, I've got my credentials on being left-wing, not these fake lefties. These fake pretense who are basically sound as fascist as they come. And I'm going to explain why I consider the person who wrote this article fascist, and just say, in my opinion anyway. Oh, in fact, I'll do it now. They seem to be moaning about people reporting the protest. Well, someone's coming. Hang on. Let me just walk past. Oh, bashing the mic again. Shush, Miller. Be quiet. They're all friendly, just giddy. So, don't worry. Ignore him, he'll probably go, there we go. Oh, shut up. He wants to play, but shut up, that's not playing, is it? He won't do anything, he just thinks, he doesn't realise. Go on, shut up. Sorry, ignore him. Oh, Arch, you're pulling me over now. Oh, Arch, that's not playing, is it? No, you pulled me over there. No, give up. Let him pass, or her pass. There we go, sorry. There we go. See, he don't do anything, he just wants to play. He's not the smartest of dogs. Sorry. That was pointless, wasn't it? Now, give up. Sorry, he doesn't understand how to play. He's friendly, just giddy. Yeah, so, I find the whole article bizarre, and for anyone who claims to be a journalist or write for a newspaper, to actually publish an article where you're criticising people reporting on events, my goodness, you really have gone down the line. That, I'd argue, is as fascist as you can imagine. Extremely fascist. Maybe you disagree with me, but I'm sorry, but when you're saying only we should be allowed, as in the newspaper should report on things, but actually I'm going to now prove why it's important we're there, and you'll see why. So it goes on about the protest 10th of October 2024. I don't know when this article published. I don't think it's that. I think I saw November on it, so I'm surprised it's taken them this long. But anyway, now these protests, by the way, are in public, and by going to a protest, you do this publicly, and you expect, possibly you hope, in fact yes, I'd even argue you'd hope press and everyone would cover the event, because otherwise why do it? That's the whole point of a protest. You make it public, you put your message out there, and in no way would you be unhappy to be filmed or have people report on it. I've been to protests, as I've said. Never would I imagine anybody, complaining at the press filming. When I was there, lots of people were taking, they had the mainstream media and they had independent people taking pictures and things. I never stopped anyone taking pictures. In fact, I used to pose. I think there was a picture in the local paper where I actually started posing from, to be honest. I saw the camera and I sort of changed the position to, show off a bit. But the thought of actually blocking the cameras is, I have to be honest, you've got to have a sort of fascist ideology mind to do that. I couldn't imagine doing that. But again, I'm true left-wing. I don't think these are. I think these are fake left-wing people, because as I've noted over the months, a lot of people like to claim they're left-wings because they want to go into this fascist ideology. They've adopted fascism, but it's a way of allowing them to be fascist without being criticised. I think in the old days I'd have probably joined National Front or something, but today they have adopted, that obviously wouldn't go down well with their friends, but you can claim to be left-wing and then act as fascist as you want, be thuggish. You can dress up and be the Hitler Youth like we see Antifa do. Dress up and they go around harassing people. And yes, the moment you harass people, that is fascism, folks. And when one of the things that I'm appalled by isn't there just the people who act like that, the ones who stand by and don't criticise it. They'll just look the other way. They go, maybe they aren't taking part as Antifa, but they don't call them out. They don't say this is disgusting behaviour. So they're just as guilty. They're just fake. Because the whole point of being left-wing, and I'll explain it, is, in my opinion, freedom of speech, allowing everyone to have views, not blocking the media, not harassing people. That's fascist. So I don't care. You can call yourself left-wing all you want. You can say you're a socialist, you can say you're a communist, but if you act like that, you're just a fascist thug. That's all you are. I've pointed this out over and over. Sorry, dog's pulling me over. God, I feel ill. So as I say, if you go along to a protest and you don't, you object to people filming you, you're a bit of a twit. Oh, by the way, you might have noticed on the second protest, there's a guy taking photographs. Now, I don't know if he's from the newspaper, but it looks like the pictures they used were from a DSLR camera or something similar with a lens, not a mobile phone. And considering he was the only one who was taking pictures, I'm going to presume it's him. Now, that's important, folks, because if he thought we were up to no good, why didn't he say something instead? He was having a laugh with us. He was chatting with us. So he couldn't have thought we was a threat. Or his thug right wing. Unless why would he chat to us? And again, they're taking pictures. So what's the rules? You can take them if you're middle class, but not if you're working class. I'm not sure how that rules are. But I'd have thought that sounds fascist in itself. Only middle class people have rights, and because that's all this article appears to be, by the way, is we don't think working class people should have rights. How dare they? We're better than them. Oh dear, folks. So there we go. So as I said, the article refers to me as right wing. Love to see the evidence of that, folks. Love to, because it describes us all as right wing. And then it goes on, as I pointed out, they've got pictures of the protesters and they're complaining about us. You sound moronic. What a ridiculous statement. You know, you see, you're publishing pictures of these protesters, but somehow we're not. Does that make sense to you, folks? Doesn't do me. But I'm not smart. I mean, I've said it. I'm dumb. I'm thick as anything. You know, I just go along, film things, and come home. I'm not taking sides. Oh, by the way, just to be clear, folks, I believe in freedom of speech. I defend these people. The protesters have their voice. I'm not there to stop them. No way. Unlike them who are trying to stop me from filming, I'm not there to try and stop them. I'm trying to put their message out for you listeners. You can decide then. You can listen to them, because obviously not everyone's going to be living in York. You might, you could be living in Australia, and you can listen, you can agree or disagree. You can listen and absorb what they've said. Think about it. And then you can come up with your own judgment. That's all I do. Oh dear. And again, that's the difference between what they put out, which I'd argue is a propaganda bit. It's not news reporting. It, to me, is propaganda. I haven't put out any, if you listen. And again, the only time I have any interaction with them is after I've been assaulted. That's my rules, folks. You start assaulting me, I'm going to be rude and unpleasant to you. No longer that's gloves off time. I don't care. If you think that's wrong, don't listen to me. But I don't play silly games when somebody's abusive to me. The moment you start playing silly games with me, I retaliate with, I'm a bit rude back. Until that point, you might have noticed you'll notice, I never speak to anybody, or rarely do go up to them, unless I know them, and I have a chat and a ding-dong. I certainly don't go up and abuse anybody. Unless obviously they've been abusive in the past or something, but I'd go through everything and argue that I've never started anything. And that day, in fact, both protests, I'd have not said a word to anyone if they hadn't started on me first. So that's just the point. So again, this is where I say it's propaganda and why they haven't reported the news. Because the articles sort of suggest we went down and started abusing them. It doesn't mention, and by the way, from reading the article, it suggests that the person reporting this has watched my videos, because they mention a line I've said, and I believe it's only on my video. So I think, and they've described other events, they've gone through my video and tried to. This is the old propaganda thing. They've taken what's happened and tried to state it sounds bad, which is why I put in that title, York students attack or assault an African disabled, blah blah blah, because that sounds far worse than what's going on. That's called propaganda. It's the sort of thing you do in fascist countries, basically. It's just a fascist news reporting. And, to me, you can then judge. And the trouble is, by the way, once you put out articles like this and people read it, they then judge you to think, well, if this is the standard you're producing, can we trust you? Oh, and by the way, they didn't actually link to any of the videos. They didn't say these are the channels. They mention one YouTuber, but they don't mention our channels. Why? Well, because the whole narrative would fall apart. Because, unfortunately, when you see my videos in full, which they're there, unedited, I actually, you can see the truth, that I'm assaulted first, and the words that I use, I explain everything to them. And I'll explain that further on. So, again, the article doesn't mention I'm assaulted first. Dishonest, I'd say, in my opinion. But that would destroy the narrative that these people are victims and I'm not. I was a victim. And again, they don't mention that they refer to, in my opinion, they were saying I was a Nazi. And to throw him in the sea, which, that sounds like they are suggesting murder, a crime. I think that might even be a criminal act in the UK. I don't think you can encourage a crime. If I was to say go kill somebody, I think I'd be in prison, but I might be wrong. I don't know the law that well. I mean, clearly, if you're left wing, you can do things that everyone else can't. Now, then it says, and this is the bit. It says a plus-size person is called fat. I don't even know if they actually, to be fair, they might not mention I've said fat. It just says that the plus size, in fact, when I wrote the article, I've put kid autocorrect. That should, if I'm altered it, should say plus size person, not kid size person. That's not me being rude. It was generally meaning plus size person. And I think it says I used a slur. The slur was I called him a fat boy, I think I said. Technically correct. But they said that was I forget. Fatphobic, that's it. I can't read my own words. They said that's fatphobic, which makes me laugh because, you know, if you're going to say the word fat is an abusive term, surely you wouldn't include it in the word fatphobic. We're really stupid, which, by the way, I've never heard of that term. And, you know, I'll be honest here. By the way, well, the reason I said that, and I'll stand by it, was he was abusive to me along with his friends. Well, I don't think he said anything. He was jumping in front of me, blocking me, being, quite unpleasant. Made me feel... and you got to remember, these are the people who've come up to me, hit me with their flags and all sorts. Straight, I mean, they've literally... I know we talk about this in MySpace thing, and I don't care about that. But, I mean, they were physically next to me. They were touching me, making me feel very threatened. But that doesn't matter because I'm just a member of the public, aren't I, folks? I don't matter. And so... when somebody does that, you're going to get abuse. And so, I will call people names, which I did, and I'll stand by that. Take me to court. I've got the footage there. I felt threatened. Is that the worst? Oh, sorry, I burped then. If that's the worst you're going to get from me, I don't think there's much to fear, is there? Oh, someone's running. Hang on, let's just wait for them to go past. It's raining, by the way. Hang on. Yeah, so back again. I'm hoping this records. Now, there's something else about this. This sort of, let's pretend, this is going off subject, but this is personal to me. I had a friend years ago, and people know about this, who was very overweight. Actually, about the same body build as this. I don't know if it's a bloke or woman, to be honest. They're called Fat Boy. Could be a woman, I don't know. It's difficult to tell from the body shape. But... all the so-called fake friends, this is even before the internet, this is going back years, they all wanted to look good. So they kept telling her, and I went along with it. When I say I went along with it, I stayed silent. I shouldn't have done. Because I was told this is the correct thing. They bullied me into this. They said, no, the correct thing is to not make her feel bad about herself. So we tell her she's fine and all this. She died in hospital. That was the day I knew that was rubbish. I was never going to do that. So when you see this article, the people saying this, and if you ever see anyone going along with this, they're not good people. They're quite, I'd argue they're very evil because they don't care about other people. They care about themselves looking good on social media. They couldn't give a stuff if this guy, in my opinion, keels over and dies, which he probably will for the size of him. He's got an increased chance. And therefore, unlike them, I'm actually kind enough to consider his health. Because what's the option? He either listens to me calling him Fat Boy, and he goes, God, I've got a weight problem, I'm upset, I'm going to lose weight. Or he doesn't, and he carries on. It's not going to make any difference. I'm not making him, at the size he is, his health is giving up on him. If you want to be angry, you should be angry at all his family and friends who have allowed him to get like that. Because I promise you now, if I had a child, I'd never allow a child to get like that. I'm sorry, and I'm going to maybe upset him, but I don't think his family, you know what I mean, to allow him to get like that. Take me to court if you think I'm wrong. But I think that's shameful to allow this lad to get like that, because he's going to have, you know, or girl, whatever, I don't know what he is or she is. But don't ever try and come up to me and use this as a way to silence me, because I will stand by this. And I'm prepared to go to court. You can go, you know, you can phone this up, contact the police, and it's all online. I'll never back down on this. I'm prepared to fight this in court and go to prison, because I'm never going to stand by and allow another fat person to kill themselves by this fake pretense of kindness. So it is fake. Don't care. I will I'm prepared to do that, because I couldn't live myself. These people don't care. They just want to look good on social media and pretend they're kind. I don't see them as kind. I think they're pretty horrible people to do that. So that's just a personal note. But again, you know, part of it is you start being funny towards me. And don't forget, I've just been told I'm a Nazi and to throw me in the sea. So, you know, oh dear. I think I'm entitled to be a bit nasty, don't you, folks? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to, because I'm working class, put with abuse from middle class people because I'm not worthy. I'm below them, and I know I am. So a lot of these left-wing middle-class people, if you're working class, you are below them in their view. They see you as right-wing, Nazis, whatever. They just don't see you as worthy of life, basically. And we know that because we had that left-wing councillor, didn't we? Labour councillor came out and said he wanted people having their throats slit or something, and all the lefties were laughing. Thank you. I mean, you know what I mean? They openly now state this, so there we go. Oh dear. Now, let me just read this. I'm not sure what I wrote here. It says, I wrote this. The article states, I said they clearly do. Oh yeah, that was it. Apparently this is another thing they're trying to hold me on, which I actually stand by on. They said apparently, this is why I think they've listened to my videos, because it's me who said it on the first one especially. So they must have listened to the first one, because it's only me who filmed the first one, and they've got a lot of information. So, you know, and it says, I stated they don't care about the protest. Perfectly correct, folks. I'll stand by that statement. Now, there's a reason why this, because they don't. I mean, I actually explained it on both videos. It was interesting they haven't included my statement. Why? Because it'd destroy the narrative, wouldn't it? So the first one, the reason I claimed it was because they covered the faces. Unlike other protests, Leeds one, they don't cover the faces. One or two do, but they don't. Unlike all the protests I've been on, no one ever covers the face. Why? Because everyone believes in the protest. People who cover their face don't believe in the protest. I mean, you can come out with some nonsense, rubbish, silly, twisty, rubbish excuses, but we all know that. It's what people do who don't believe in something. And the other reason was because I was stood next to them, and they started laughing. It was a game to them. They weren't taking it seriously. Here on the video, they come up to me and it's a giggle. They were laughing. It was all a bit of a fun. Oh, people are dying in another country getting bombed and stuff. Oh, it's a giggle. We can make ourselves look good over it. That was what I said. I'm sure I said it on the first video. You include that in the article, and I'll stand by that. I don't believe, maybe one or two believed in it, but it was quite clear that I don't think any of them did. I don't believe they did. Maybe I'm wrong. But I stand by that statement and proud to state that. Then I said it again on the second one, the second protest, which I use the same reasoning. But on this one, they stand there and they say, the university that we're paying money to is bringing in all these companies we disagree with. Now, I said, surely, if you believe that and you were against the uni doing that, wouldn't you on principle quit the course? One of the women turns to me in an academic way and tells me to F off, or F the up. She says the F word and something, showing her academic skills. Because I'm pointed out are factually correct, this proves to me they don't believe in it, because, they're happy to go to the uni and just wave and be seen. So, I stand by that statement. Again, none of this was included in the article. It just tries to make out their victims. That's why it's propaganda. It's not news, in my opinion. It's just propaganda. Include my words, and then it would have been news. And then people can judge. And that's the whole point. People can then judge their opinions based on as much facts as they can give them. The fact you missed out a lot of data shows you've only given a one-sided view. That's propaganda. It's not newsworthy. And this is why, by the way, I'm proud of what I do. I'm including everything. I could have deleted some of the footage of things I've said to make me look even better. But I've chosen to include it. And by the way, if I'd done all these crimes that you claim, why have I had the police round? I put the evidence up for you guys. It's there. It's all fully there. I haven't edited it. I've got the live feed. And I've got the footage I shot. All there for you guys. More than enough evidence for the courts, I presume, if you think I've done a crime. And by the way, I will defend it in court. It's been months now, well, several weeks now, hasn't it? I think it's going to rain. Oh dear, so let's see. Oh, it says here that I identify as independent media. I'll be honest, I might have ever once said it. I don't think I have. The reason I don't think I have, it's not the sort of thing I'd say, but I'm not saying I haven't said it. But I'd like them to provide evidence, because they clearly state I have identified as independent media. I'd like to see me, I'm not saying that's not true, because it's not the sort of vocabulary I'd use. If anyone asks me, I just say I'm just I just make silly YouTube vids. I'm a moron with a camera. Never said anything special. I'm nothing special. I've never said I am. I'm some idiot. I've told you before. I'm thick as anything. I've explained. I was even in special needs schools classes at school. I'm the thickest person you meet. I'm nothing. I don't claim to be this sort of clever. So, I know that's just me being technical, but it just seems a bit sloppy that they're inventing things that I'm claiming, which I haven't. It's very important, because people will read that and go, oh, he's saying he's independent media, and they'll go, oh, blah, 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 blah. They'll make comments. Oh dear. It says, see, the trouble is I wrote this about 3 a.m. It states one protester states they were moved after, They mentioned somebody being moved. This amused me a lot, actually, because I think this shows how thick this article is. It says they were moved after blocking somebody filming them. Oh dear, you've just admitted that they're harassing members of the public, and you put that in black and white. And later on in your article you say, one of the rules, I don't know if it's true, but you claim one of the rules, very stringent rules about the universities, that you're not allowed to harass people. Oh dear, now what you've now done is you've just provided evidence for the university to dismiss everyone on that protest, kick them off the course. If they don't, people won't respect the managers or whatever they are at the university. So you've literally, they don't even need to look at my footage of the harassment. You don't even need to look at my video to question if I was assaulted. You've just admitted to it. You've stated, this shows how thick this protester is. They've just admitted that they're harassing people and getting in their way, which, by the way, you might not be aware. If you suddenly get in somebody's way, very close up, especially doing that, legally, from my understanding, I don't know, but I've been told this by the police and stuff, that you can push them away because you're being threatened. It's self-defence. So yeah, that isn't going to go down too well. You've just admitted that. So now if this ever went to court, you've just admitted assault, basically, or a type of assault or harassment or whatever you want to call it. But you've just put that in black and white. But again, now you put that in black and white, we have to then see if the university reacts, because they've got two choices. They either kick them off the course following the rules or they don't, and then people just think, well, you know, students, because I've had students and staff contact me and they say they don't feel safe, and they said, this, you know, do you think the uni will react to any of this? And I said, well, just see. So you've now actually put this, you know, this, you know, to actually admit you've actually going around harassing members of the public who are just filming. You've just admitted that this person was harassing somebody who's, you know, press, and yet you're press yourself, and you're defending them by the looks of it. You don't sound particularly bright as a newspaper. But the last thing, any newspaper with assault would protect journalists. Doesn't matter if you're left wing or right wing. That shows what if you're a newspaper. That's just the basics. It's the basics of basics. The fact is, you published that. Oh my goodness! I actually had to read that 10 times, thinking you haven't actually published that, have you, folks? But they have. So there we go. Now then it turns on to, it says, I threaten to dox people. I'm presuming they mean me, because on it, on the first video, and I might have done it in the second, one of them turns to me and who's covered his face, and I said, well, you know, I mentioned his face, and he says, you can't see him, and I says, yes, you can. You've only, you know, because basically he'd only covered his mouth. And anybody will have recognised him who knows him, is, you know. And I have had people contact me because they know who he is. They don't like him, by the way. But anyway, it's very easy to recognise people, especially by your voice and things. And so that's what I said to him. I says, you know, covering your face. That wasn't. I did not say I was going to dox anybody. And you might notice, I don't threaten to dox. I don't dox people at all. Even people have assaulted me, I've not. And I've got the details. People sent me them. I'm not interested. I just delete it because it's not my style. I don't believe in it. It says actually a Jewish student was targeted or something. Well, I wasn't aware of anyone being Jewish. I don't even know who they refer to. I spoke, you know what I mean? Not that it matters. But anyway, I think that was a later in the article. Anyway, but I thought, and I was thinking this today, that's not very responsible of this news article, because you've got people who'll be reading this and now panicking, living in fear, thinking I'm going to dox them because of your article. That's evil. You're an evil person for doing that, because I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't want them to feel, and they could ask me that, and I'd say that, I'd be very clear, I would never in a million years publish their details. I think that's purely evil of me if I was to do that. And I want them to be reassured. I wouldn't do that. And again, have a look, have I ever doxed anybody? No. The only time I've mentioned anybody, if it got in the news, let's say a film star was mentioned, I was talking about the film star because it was in the news. That's not, in my view, doxing somebody. But I certainly wouldn't dox somebody, because I don't want anyone getting harassed or anything. Even somebody who's assaulting me, I do not want them harassed. So I thought that was quite sick, because I know, let's be honest, you know, some of these students are going to be the types that, you know, you say the word potato or something, then they're going to freak out and need a safe space. But I think even normal people would be panicking. If I thought a newspaper was going to post, you know, unnecessarily all my details, I'd think that was quite evil. Because it's going to put pressure on. I agree with that. I think that was even. I think the fact that this article said that, when it was quite clear I didn't say that at all. In no way could you interpret what I said as saying I'm going to dox you. I was even giving them some advice. I was saying just covering your mouth is not going to be sufficient. People will recognise you, especially you know, people you went to school with. But then it goes on. Is that in that? It's blah blah blah. Let me just read it. Oh yeah, and then it goes on. The article mentions most students cover themselves, mask up to stop their identity, which provides evidence in my view, backs up my statement they don't believe in the protest. Because why wouldn't, you know what I mean? Let's be honest. I find that it's an extraordinarily stupid statement to say that you're in a protest, you have to cover your face because of some backlash. The only reason you do that is because you feel you're doing something wrong. You don't believe in the protest. Because, you know, I've been on animal rights ones, I've been on the dragged I've been on so many. I've never seen anyone cover their faces, but that's because they believed in it. And they were quite prepared to be arrested, and, you know, doesn't matter. When you cover your face, it just shows you don't believe in something. So, I think that provides me with the evidence there. Again, I think that was indirectly the articles actually backing up my statements. Then it says, and I think this refers to the second protest, security took 30 minutes to arrive. Well, I saw a woman make a phone call to security and they turned up straight away, so I failed to see why they're getting the 30 minutes from. And the security, you can see it on the video, they're chatting to us. They didn't see us doing anything wrong. They walked with us, they were quite happy with us. They explained to the protesters we're perfectly entitled to film. They're the ones who are trying to remove our rights. I think what they're actually getting upset over is security didn't bend over and do exactly what they wanted them to do. They didn't try and remove people's rights. Yeah, it's a thing. If they had done, the university would probably be now facing a huge lawsuit, but probably not the smartest thing. You know, if you're thinking, and by the way, if you actually advocating for taking people's rights away, you know what that means? You're a fascist. Ooh, you're just admitting to that. But again, that seems to be what this article's about, is trying to remove people's rights. Very embarrassing if you're claiming to be left-wing. Very embarrassing. Again, I'm left-wing, but you know, I don't think these people are. They just pretend to be, don't they? But maybe I'm wrong, maybe they are. But when you're actually doing a full article trying to talk about taking people's rights away because they're working class and you don't think they're worthy of having rights, which is basically what I'd summarise the article's about. Oh dear. And it goes on about I've uploaded the footage in full. Oh yeah, but it talks about, as I've said and pointed out, I've included everything in full. So I think there's a sort of suggestion in the article that I have assaulted people. Well, you know, you can see it in full. I've was the one who was assaulted. I wasn't assaulted. My hands were full. Very difficult to assault anyone. But the footage is there in full, so, you know, go to the police. We'll fight it out in court. I'll fight it. I'm not going to plead guilty to anything. You know, we can do this and I'll make a nice article. And I'm sure a lot of YouTubers will. It'll be a very good article. Freedom of speech and all that. And we can question, you know, everything on this. And I'm more than happy to do that. It'll be great. In fact, to be honest, I hope you do. I hope you do. It'll be, you know, it'll be good footage from me. I look forward to that. I'm still waiting. It's been weeks ago, so I don't know why, considering you know what the channels are, I don't know why you haven't gone to the police. It's most strange. Why are you doing this slight, slimy little article where you think we aren't going to read it? A bit cowardly, isn't it? Be nice if you'd contact me, but actually use, you know, put the news in full instead of just doing one-sided, only reporting part. You see, when you only report part of something, I'd argue that's propaganda. It's not real news, is it? Again, your readers are going to have to, you know, will judge you on that. They'll question who's the proper journalist. You doing like this one-sided, missing out things, or me showing everything. Ooh. Who are they going to trust more, you or me? Got a feeling it's probably going to be me, but I might be wrong. Maybe they want to have propaganda being fed, you know, nonsense to them. And again, am I coming to this? Let's see. I mean, in it does say I targeted. I haven't made the notes in here, I don't think, but it does say I targeted someone Jewish. In fact, I might have made the notes, but I'll do it now. No one was there. Was who I saw, I would have known was Jewish. I didn't say any of the, you know. Not that it matters. But it suggests that I spotted somebody, and I still don't know who it is, male or female or whatever. And then I used, it says I use Nazi slogans. Right, what happened was, I was having these people block me, and then I pointed out that was a form of fascism, which I've explained over and over. I stand by. If you block the camera of anyone filming you at a protest, that, in my view, is an act of fascism. And I was pointing out the hypocrisy of the whole thing. I pointed out very clearly that's what the Nazis used to do. You know, and any of these fascist organisations, what you do is you block the camera, as well as report things in a biased, informing people, making up stuff way in newspapers. Certainly missing out information which is vital to the public by providing them biased nonsense. So yeah, I stand by that. And again, I'm quite prepared to go to court. I'll repeat that. I'm not backing down. I'm not deleting that bit of footage. I stated that I was comparing them to what the Nazis would have done by trying to prevent you reporting on events. So I'll stand by that. I'm very proud of that, because I'm not going to be blocked filming events. Because after all, what would you expect me, if there was a crime going on, do you think I'm going to not report on it? That's how disgusting these people are. So, anyway, I might have wrote that earlier on. Then, and this is the bit that makes me amuse, it starts talking about campus rules. And it says several things. It says you're not allowed to, as I've pointed out, it says you're not allowed to harass people. Well, thank you for pointing that out. So now, because you put that out in public, you just put pressure on the university to get rid of to expel every single student in the protest, because they were clearly harassing me, especially in the first protest. Every single one, they were screaming. They called me Nazis. That was the first. Well, by looking at me, that was the implication. I don't think you could argue any other. They were calling me a Nazi. Why else would say it when they looked at me? They start talking about, and then call. Sorry, coughing. They looked at me and then started to. And by the way, they accused me on the first protest of doing something, harassing students. Well, the only time I've ever gone to York Uni was twice. One I went when they were at the campsite. I just walked around and they started messing about. I never spoke to them. I started filming the swans that were more interesting. And then the second one wasn't actually at the uni. Well, no, it was on the university campsite. It was when the what was it? We all went down to film around. What was it called? Question time. That was it. And most of that, I was just a lot of the pro-Palestinian protesters were there who know me from Leeds, and we were chatting. In fact, they invited me round. You might have seen on the footage. So I don't understand where they were getting this information from. That to me was made up. But again, I film everything. If I've harassed somebody, I put the footage out. I'm a bit stupid. I mean, I know I am stupid, but I must be a bit stupid to put out all these films of me assaulting people as you claim. Oh, someone's coming. Hang on. Oh dear. Wait till people pass. God, it's getting dark. Hang on. Oh, blow my nose now. That's got it. Shush, Miller. Oh dear. She's friendly. Just ignore her. So. Shh, Millie. Come on. Hi, sorry. Oh, I'm back. Oh dear. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then they said one of the rules, which I'm not sure if it's true or not, is you're not supposed to. Remember, this is the campus rules. It's not law. It says you're not allowed to make films or photographs or something for profit. Well, apparently this newspaper knows this rule. So if they know that, why are they having a photographer take pictures? I mean, I don't know if this newspaper is for sale. I've only seen the picture of it, so perhaps they give it away free. Everyone works on it, apparently works for free or whatever. I don't know how they make. If they don't sell it, I don't know how they make the money, because even if they do it for advertising, they're still making a profit. So if they're saying we can't film, I'm not sure I find that a weird one, because they're now saying that the newspaper must have broke the campus rules, so presumably they're not allowed on the campus, or is it different for them? I'm confused. What's the difference between them reporting the news and me reporting the news? Bit of a weird one, that, but again, kind of strange. But they do clearly state that you're not allowed to harass people. Well, the footage is there, and they've actually admitted it in the article. One of them was harassing somebody. I don't know who they're referring to. But again, these aren't law. I mean, it's a public space, publicly accessible. I haven't gone into a building. You can come out with any rules you want, but it doesn't, I'm not going to care less about your rules to be rude. And especially if now, as you've declared, harassment is against your rules and you don't do anything against students. As far as I'm concerned, your rules are irrelevant, because you don't, you're just choosing who to apply them to. That's prejudiced. But again, your students will see. Now they've read that and listened to this. Your students will, they'll see that if you don't do anything, they'll just think, well, to whatever. It then goes on to two protesters had panic attacks. I don't know if that was after they assaulted me. Perhaps it was. I don't know why they're having panic attacks, considering it was me who was living in fear. But again, I'm working class, so it doesn't matter, folks, does it, about me? I'm coming to end. Oh dear. Oh yeah, this is the bit. Just to be clear, as I pointed out, we're left-wing people do not decide who is worthy or who is not worthy to have the rights to have rights, which is, this article appears to be doing that. It appears to be saying that they view me not worthy of having the same rights as them, which is fine. I mean, you want to post that? You've made that public. Because again, it doesn't make sense for a newspaper to believe that only certain people should have rights to, produce the news. Now, considering I put everything out in full and you've literally decided to include only things that you want to try and make me look bad, I think, out of two of us, I'd argue I'm the proper journalist. Sorry to say that, sorry to upset you, but I think a lot of your readers will. I knew you probably, let's be honest, I don't think you expected me to find this article. But I have. And now you see, it's my right to reply. You haven't put that in the paper. I couldn't care less, because, again, one of the beauties of this is it shows me in a good light, because people watch this videos I've put out and they'll judge. They'll say about this article isn't very accurate. They assaulted you first, and they already have done. A lot of people have watched that and they've gone, my goodness, you're the victim, they've said to me. A lot of the students from the university have. So, unfortunately for you, you've got to remember that the videos were shared around the uni. I was told that by some of the students and some of the staff. They actually thanked me for it. They thanked me. And you're daft enough to put this article out, not realising that. And again, we know you're dishonest in regards to that. You could have just simply put the videos. You could have just put this is a YouTuber called Street Hawk. That's all you had to do. You knew it, because you referred to the videos. Perhaps you didn't, but from reading the article, it does suggest you have viewed my videos. By the way, or at least somebody has. I'm still confused why the photographer was chatting to us quite happily. You forgot to mention that, and by the way, you can hear him chatting to me on video. If I'm so evil as you claim I am, why is he chatting to me? Wouldn't he challenge me? He mustn't care less about, it makes a whole nonsense of things. He was chatting to me and he was a lovely bloke. I got on well with him, I thought. But not once did he challenge me. So, your little player, these people are victims. If you actually genuinely thought they were victims, why didn't you press Guy? the guy taking the pictures come up and say you're in the wrong. He didn't ask me to leave, didn't do any of that. I'd have been chatting, you know what I mean, if they'd said, look, could have had a debate. But no, he was quite chatty, he was smiling, very friendly towards us. You know, you don't mention that in the papers, in your article. But then we finish off here, don't we, folks? You talk about doxing and how bad it is and how you feel threatened. Then half the article is about one of the YouTubers. You don't mention me. You go full on, giving out this guy's name, one of the YouTubers, and going every detail you could find. Wow. You big hypocrite. You see, if you're going to argue that doxing's bad, which I don't do, I would never publish somebody's details like that, which is irrelevant. What does that actually have to do? And by the way, this is the whole part, one of the things I'll argue. It doesn't matter if I was the worst person ever or a saint. I should have the same rights, and any left-wing decent person should defend them. Always reminds me of the guy, what was he? It always reminds me of that speech, and it affected me a lot. And it's the one thing I still quote. There's it wasn't Play. It was one of the adult magazines from America who was put into a wheelchair. I forget. And he said, it doesn't matter if he's a scumbag or something on lines. He still should have the same rights in law and everything as anyone else. And I thought that's very true. That's the most left-wing ideological belief ever. And it's something we should all stand by. So it doesn't matter if I'm scum. What does that matter to you, folks? What does that matter? Now, you can criticise if I did something with the footage to edit it, or, I doxed people. Fine, you could and probably bring charges. But if I'm simply going around filming, I'm not doing anything. I mean, obviously, when you assault me, I will call you names. I think I'm entitled to. I think that'd be defensible in court. Which, by the way, you didn't mention that I was assaulted first and threatened all this. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I was literally the worst person ever. So I could be... Oh, blow my nose again. I could be, Britain's biggest... I don't know. I could reverse it. I could say I'm one of Britain's biggest pornographers or something. Does it matter, folks? Does it matter if I'm not doing anything except innocently filming? I could be the worst person ever on any grounds. And I'm not the nicest person, I'm a piece of scum. Hey, I'll even give you... There you go. You can publish that. You can say I admit I'm scum. I don't care. I always tell people I'm the worst person going. It's not, because once you say that, they can't, when they start calling you names, I go, well, I've just admitted that. Bit pointless calling me names. But yeah, I could be the worst person going in any aspect. So what? Does that mean I should have less rights than somebody else? No. Not if you're truly left-wing. And again, you'll notice I defend everyone's... And I upset people because I actually defend everyone's rights to freedom of speech and to film. I'm not going round saying people shouldn't have the right to protest. I'll stand by these people, even though they've assaulted me and been really unpleasant, to have the right to protest. I'll stand by this newspaper to publish this, what I'd consider bias or propaganda piece of article. I stand by it. I'm not critical, you know what I mean? I'm not saying they shouldn't have the right to. It's brilliant. I'll stand by them. I'm not calling them out on that. I hope you don't think I am, folks. I'm just putting forward my side of things. But I'll stand by them. Unlike them, they wouldn't stand by me. I doubt. Maybe they would. Well, they haven't because of trying to suggest we shouldn't be filming. But, that's not defending me in any way, is it? But I wouldn't do that to them, and I hope you don't think... I'm hoping by what you listen to, I don't want to give that impression out that I'm doing that. I'm not... You know what I mean? They're free to publish the articles in any way they want. I mean, obviously slander and all this becomes a problem, but as long as you stick to the truth. And I think by not representing the information correctly, it seems, but I'd argue it's not representative of the news. You can't really, it's because the footage is there, and again, they can quite take me to court over that, because I think I'd win quite easily in court that the footage I put out are showing full, and the footage they put in the newspaper article I would argue it's misleading. Perhaps I'm wrong, that's in my opinion. Right, I'm not saying it is misleading, I'm just saying in my opinion, from reading it and from what other people have read, they've gathered they believe it's misleading. It's in people's views, and the trouble is, when you're a newspaper and people cotton on, they read a single article and they say that's misleading, then they question everything else, everything you've ever done, and they'll walk away. Now, some will stick to it because they just want propaganda, and I've seen, people do that. They'll just stick and listen to a certain thing, regardless whatever political view. They'll try and find. They only want to be fed certain information. It's one of the criticisms I have of people is where they'll only criticise one side and not the other, regardless if they're left wing or right wing. Again, I'd argue I'm left wing, but I think I'm fair. I always criticise. I even criticise. You'll have heard me. I'm into animal rights and I'm into the environment, but I criticise Just Stop Oil. And you think, well, surely I'd support them, but I criticise them for holding up traffic and putting people at risk because they can't get to hospital and things like this, and also irritating people. So, if I was being biased, a propagandist, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be saying, oh yes, Just Stop Oil, aren't they wonderful, blah blah blah, regardless. But I think I'm fair that my criticism spreads across every, so I do, and I think that's fair. I criticise where I think there should be. I'm not biased in that way. Where I think people should be defended. Like I've said it. Where I've stood by and I go against the grain on certain things, like that. Like that girl who went, I forget which country she's in. Is it Afghanistan? Where she became a bride and she wants to come back to England. I'm unusual. I've stood by and said I think she should come back. And I know that's against a lot of people's views. And people go, oh, you're a bit left-wing on that. But, I think she was a victim. But that shows you see, when people accuse me of being right-wing, why would I come out with things like that? And you'll probably see that on some of the videos I've mentioned it, or articles. I have mentioned it before, so I'm not saying it now out the blue. And I'm prepared to lose viewers on some of the views I've said, but I'll stick by them. Sometimes I do that. I think, well, should I say things just to get more views? And I don't. I stand by my thoughts, and they'll change over time. But I defend everyone's rights. It doesn't matter what your views are. I think you should have. I think one of the problems we have today is we've got ourselves in such a pickle that, if you have the wrong views, you're in trouble. It's criminal, and I don't think that's helpful. I think, I believe. And again, that's why, I'll even defend your right to be fascist and have if your belief is to block the camera because you believe in fascism, which, you can't, only fascist people believe in blocking cameras and blocking the news as if you've something to hide. But I believe in your belief that's correct. I don't. I think it's pure fascism, in my opinion. And I don't see how it can't be anything else but fascism. Which is why these fake left then suddenly get upset when you're pointing that out to them. But yeah, and I'll keep saying this. Those people in protest you see blocking the camera, all it does is you just come across as, well, you must be doing something dodgy to block the cameras. Why would you block a camera? I still, to this day, haven't worked it out. and it is weird. Oops.